So today we're going to take a look at a few of the different techniques. There's going to be, lots of techniques that we're going to, I'll be introducing and you'll be practicing throughout this course. Getting some of these basic ones down early on is going to create a whole lot less frustration for you when you're starting to do real paintings or paintings of things, paintings that are recognizable. I know a lot of you are anxious to get going on those, and welcome to go ahead and try. But I just thought the more we get down some of these basics, the more success you will have in the future. So taking a little bit of time to practice is always a good thing, and continue this practice, because really learning how the paints handle and what they do, what the water to paint ratio should be, or is there a should, how much, of course, how much water to use. It's always good to have 2 containers of water, one for rinsing and then one for clean water. You can even do 3. A lot of people do 3. So whatever you're comfortable with or whatever you want to do there. But that just always ensures you have clean water and you're not contaminating your colors. Okay, so as we get started, the other thing to note is the paper that you're using. Today I'm using a block, and I'm going to be playing a little bit because I told you I would be with some cold press, which normally I use hot press. I recommend that whatever you of course, experiment in the beginning. See which one you prefer. Go back and forth if that's what you want to do too. But if you know that you're only going to use hot press, or you know that you're only going to use cold press, don't practice on inferior paper. Practice on what you're going to be using. Cut down the sheets into small pieces so that you're not wasting it if you want. Just take shave off an end of a large sheet if you're wanting to keep big pieces for later works. Take little pieces and then you tape those down so that you can play with them. But working with the paper that you're going to be using is going to be the better practice, because you're going to know exactly how that paper takes the water, how absorbent it is or thirsty it is, what the brush does when it moves across that particular surface, if it is the cold press with a little bit more tooth, or if it's the hot press that's completely smooth. Those are things you're going to want to consider. So the very first one we've already talked about, but we'll go over one more time, is the wash. And the washes you're going to even use for little, we talked about it as terms of being a background, but your basic wash is really just laying down color in a certain area. So even if you have a small little area of your painting, like a little square, for example, you can put down a wash. Oops, let me move this over. You can put down a wash just with water first. I don't know if you can see the sheen on that, but I've got a little square of water. I'm going to get a little bit of water on my brush, and I think I'll just go with some ultramarine blue. I'm mixing a little bit of water in with the ultramarine blue, and now I can touch on that place that I already got wet. Now this week we are talking about how to control the water medium. Water is going to go wherever it can go, but think about your paper. Think of the water as being a river and your paper as being a dam of sorts. It's going to trap it. It's not going to go where the paper isn't wet usually. That's the case. If your brush is super wet and you're tilting it a lot, then yes, and depending on the absorbency of the paper, you could have drips. But generally speaking, it's going to stop at the edge. And so this is one way just to understand the control that you actually have over your watercolor. Now, laying this flat, I don't have a whole lot of water on there right now, but what I do have, I can still control and pick up. If I get too much water, I can come in with a dry brush and pick some of that up so that it doesn't puddle. What's going to happen, and I will show you an example of this. I'm going to get more water on my brush. Let's see, that's my clean, that's my dirty. I'm going to get more water on my brush. I'm going to get more pigment. And I'm going to come into that and show you what will happen. See, I can add more pigment at any time to darken it. This is going to dry, and as it dries, it collects in the middle, but it moves outwards towards that edge. And we'll come back to that later. We'll see. Loud noise. Sorry about that. We will see that this makes a very hard edge, and sometimes the color will come and actually make sort of an outline effect, which you don't always want. So it's a matter of really just realizing how to contain that color. Now this one I went down just on clear water. I still have some color on my brush, so I will come in and do another square next to it. Yeah, see, even on this one right away, you can see that hard edge forming there. Sometimes that's a really desirable characteristic in watercolor. You want that. Other times you want the edge to be softened. So there's lots of ways to go about softening it, or, you know, depending on what you're painting, you can drag things out and feather it out with a dry brush and get rid of that hard edge. You can pull it inward. Our temptation usually is to go back in with a lot more water, which really just kind of can complicate things a little bit. I mean, a little bit of water here. Let's get a little clear water on that. That's my dry brush though. Yeah, we'll do it anyway. Okay, so if you can see that little edge there, if we didn't want that edge, we need to deal with it. Deal with it while it's still wet or semi-wet, because that's when you have a chance to. Once it dries, it's pretty much permanent. So see, I've been able to, well, pick up that color. Now, if I picked up too much color, which is looking like, I mean, it's good. You know that this is another way to control. You can always pick up color, not always, but for the most part, while it's still wet, you can pick up color. You can pick it up with a brush. You can pick it up with a sponge, with a paper towel. You can come in and take away some of that color or soften an edge. And then if you want to go back in with more color, you can go back in and bring it back in again. But see, now it doesn't have that hard edge so much. Another way to handle this is going from the inside out. So let's see, I'm going to rinse my brush. I'm going to get clear water on again like we did in that first one. So I've got a little square. If I know that I don't want a hard edge, but I want to be painting an area, but don't want it to go too far, I might overpaint with water. Overpainting, then, see the sheen, I don't know if you can see the sheen of the water here, but I think you can. Anyway, overpainting is with the water is going to allow me just to come in and say, I just want to paint that middle area. Now, see, it's a lot fuzzier, but maybe that's what you're wanting. That's one of those really pretty things about watercolor, having those soft, pretty edges. This allows me to do that without it going out and stopping at the paper edge and getting that hard line. I can maintain that kind of just really soft, you know, almost cloud-like, really soft color there without getting the hard edge. It will eventually, you know, it keeps moving outwards. You can see it as it's moving out, but eventually that's going to stop, and it'll probably stop before I get to the edge of the paper, depending how much pigment I put in. So that is that for now, and then we'll go on to some more techniques.